The kind of culture certain people practice can be observed through the language of food. When people eat, whether together or alone, they tend to portray a set of habits through body language or verbally. Today, I'll be discussing how the Chinese and Japanese portray their culture through the food and the way they interact during their meal. In a formal setting, attending a dinner or a meal requires you to be appropriately groomed for the occasion. Being punctual or early for the event is a must to show a sign of respect. Usually one would make sure to bring a gift if one is needed to be present for the occasion. An introduction of you is necessary either by yourself or by the host. From here on, most of the events will be initiated by the guest of honor or the host if there is no guest of honor present. The table will be seated according to rank, with the highest ranking person always sitting first, followed by the next highest ranking person beside him or her. The lowest ranking person will always be seated opposite the highest ranking individual. Food is typically served on a lazy susan, which is a center revolving tray that can be rotated to reach food that is across the table. Dishes are also served on large platters, which will be shared by all on the table. The elders will always be first to take the food or offer food from the others sitting at the same table. This is a form of respect for the elders, something that Chinese people practice as they believe that the older one is, the wiser they will be, and this is looked upon. Eating habits on the table tells others a lot about yourself, or as the Chinese say, 有家教. Chinese believe that your table manners can reflect how well you are taught at home and if you were brought up with good manners. So here are some tips you might want to take note of. Bring food from communal dishes to your personal plate. It is considered bad habits to bring something from your personal plate to the communal dishes, as it's seen as unhygienic. Also, make sure your chopsticks are free of any grains of rice before reaching out to your communal dishes. You may tap 2 fingers on the table as a thank to anyone who pours you tea. Leaving the teapot lid half open indicates to the server that you need a refill. Make as little noise as possible when you eat, so close your mouth as you chew. Well, so you may ask, when would we know the meal has ended? Leaving while an event is still occurring is bad manners. So how do we know that we can leave? When a meal has ended, the empty dishes and cutleries will be cleared. The host or guest of honors would then initiate the end of the meal by rising to leave. Don't forget to express your thanks before leaving. What we can observe from this is through the dining habits and pandemic triggers, there's a formal approach to the Chinese culture and it is clearly visible. Take for example, you can see how the guest of honor or the host is held in high esteem, where they will be the pandemic triggers for most of the transition of the event. The Chinese are also very superstitious individuals. This can be observed through the food they eat, when and why they eat it. We'll go through a few examples. 饺子 or dumpling is a homophone for the word 交子, which also means first exchange. It is typically eaten to usher in prosperity for the new year. 年糕, which also means sticky cake, is a homophone for 年糕, which directly translates to year high. Now do you see the link? The Chinese relate the latter to prosperity annually, hence the practice of eating sticky cake during New Year. 鱼 or fish is a homophone for the word 鱼, which means surplus. 汤圆 is a glutinous rice ball eaten during a reunion, which Chinese pronounce as 团圆. So here's a question for you. Guess which season spring rolls are eaten in? I'm pretty sure you know the answer by now. We can also see a similar culture through the language of food in the Japanese context. However, there are a few differences that Japanese practice. Slurping while having ramen or soup is socially acceptable in Japan. This is because the slurping is a means to communicate to the chef that the dish is delicious. This is one of the more unique culture that one may observe when in Japan, where in other parts of the world it is portrayed as bad manners. Try it the next time you're in the land of the rising sun. Adding extra seasoning to the sushi is also not encouraged when in Japan. Sushi is typically served to be eaten as it is, as the chef would have already prepared it with the ideal proportion of seasoning. The Japanese also have a unique way to start a meal. Itadakimasu means thank you for the food, or I humbly receive, is typically said before the start of the meal. Similarly, Gochu-sama is said to thank the host for the meal as it acts as a panoramic trigger to end the meal. There are some dishes that the Japanese eat which have unique nomenclature origins. Let's look at a few examples. Sushi directly translates to sour tasting in a grammatical form used in the past. Sushi was made to preserve fish, hence it was described as sour due to the fact that vinegar was used. Believe it or not, the name bento, which is given to the popular packed lunch that the Japanese prepare, did not originate from Japan. It originated from a slang in Song Dynasty in China. 便当 is the word and directly translates to convenience, which is quite self-explanatory why Japanese name it as such. To conclude, we have seen how two different groups of people portray the culture they practice through the way they eat or habits that they have when they eat. We have also learned that some of the dishes that the Chinese and Japanese prepare for a specific event and the significance behind it. So the next time you plan a trip to either of these destinations, eat like the local and impress the locals.